Cardiff beat Leinster to move within a point of them in the table. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. This game's certainly not a classic by any stretch of the imagination. It's not a game, that will live long in the memory, but the result certainly will live long in the memory of the Cardiff fans who were there. Pouring down rain for most of the first half, got a big wind as well there. Conditions improved a little bit in the second half, and the quality of the game improved slightly as well in the second half, but never really got too high. But mere seconds into the game, we have around the handbags. Deegan gets pinged for escalating the situation. Then Cam Winnett puts in a kick in behind, out wide left. Leinster player knocks it back before Mason Grady then knocks on into 22. And this game was kind of littered with errors from both sides. Harry Byrne then has to go for an HIA, and he's replaced by Charlie Tector. We don't see Harry Byrne again. Leinster then looking to move the ball a few times, but combination of the conditions and really good line speed from Cardiff leading to plenty of errors from them. We then have a kick through from Cardiff, carried dead by Leinster, but we have a TMO check for a no-arms tackle by Tector on Thomas. And we can see definitely no arms on that, and it's late. So Tector goes to the bin. It goes to review. Penalty to Cardiff, where the ball landed, which is on the edge of the 22. They decide to kick to the corner. Leinster steal the line out, and then Gunn is half charged down as he kicks clear. And I thought, Gunn didn't have his best game, but not too many players had their best game tonight, honestly. Although I thought Mason Grady was pretty decent for Cardiff, and Sheedy as well. Speaking of Sheedy, kicks a lovely 50-22 to get a decent attacking position for Cardiff. We hear then that Tector's card will stay yellow. That seems pretty fair. Cardiff then win a penalty. Sparrow is off feet at the breakdown. Sheedy opens the scoring from the tee, 3 points to 0. Leinster offside, and Cardiff go to the corner. They go to the maul. It's pretty much going nowhere, so they go off the back, recycle a couple of times before Dan Thomas knocks on. Leinster then with some possession on the edge of 22, but McNally and Lawrence get over the ball to win a penalty, and Leinster found it very hard to kind of get anything going really, other than like the one move for the try. There wasn't much from them. Leinster then change their entire front row, and they bring on Sneyman in the second row 5 minutes before the break. Their first act is to dominate a scrum and win a penalty, but we didn't see too much more really in terms of impact from them for the rest of the game. Leinster up the line, looking for a score before the break. Cardiff force a knock on, and who's it? It was Usnov was at the back of a ruck. And he was just kind of dithering there, filling in for Gunn, and took too long. Ended up, Cardiff counter ruck, and then he knocks it on halftime, 3 points to 0. In the second half, we have a period of kick tennis before Jim O'Brien goes for 50-22, but instead kicks it dead. We finally then have some quality play, and it's from Cardiff. Cam Winnett traps a kick, puts on a bit of a step, then feeds it out to the wing. They break down the left, inside to Grady, and then off to Davis to finish. Conversion missed, 8 points to 0. And that seemed like a very big lead given the conditions. And again, kind of the dire nature of play from both teams. We then have a little bit knock on from Jacob Beetham, and he goes to the bin as there was a potential line break for Leinster. Leinster then up to tempo with the extra man. They stretch the Cardiff defence before Andrew Osborne goes through a gap, gives an offload to McGrath, who goes under the post, converted for 8 points to 7. And then Leinster trying to kind of, get another score after that, but good defence from Cardiff. Then Cardiff win a penalty as Osborne plays Grady in the air. They go up the line and win another penalty as Leinster infringe at a maul coming in at the side. Up the line then to about 10 metres out. They feel like they can seal the win here, but the line out malfunctions and Leinster clear. But crucially for Cardiff, Leinster don't really get anywhere near even getting over halfway for the rest of the time, and they have to basically kick the ball away, looking to try and create something. Cardiff, though, get the hands on the ball and they run down, first of all, the rest of the yellow card period and then the rest of the clock. And full-time score, 8-7. Again, not a great game, but I think a great win for Cardiff and very well deserved. I thought they played the conditions, the better of the two teams. And they handled that Leinster pressure as well when it came on, when Leinster got back within a point. So, fair dues to them. No complaints from me as a Leinster fan. I think the better team won on the night. So let's have a look at some of the stats and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about each of the teams. So let me pull the stats up here on the official site. Just waiting for there we go. I don't know what's going on with my mouse, but it seems to not want to cooperate in the last couple of days. Okay, here we go. So on attack, 1 try scored each. Possession then 49-51, so pretty even. Offloads 1 for Cardiff and 8 for Leinster. But other than the offload from Andrew Osborne to McGrath for the try, I didn't really see too many other offloads that had positive impact for Leinster. A lot of it was kind of shifting the ball to guys who were standing still, stuff like that. Clean breaks then 3 for Cardiff and 7 for Leinster. But again, I thought, Cardiff scrambled pretty well to kill most of those breaks from Leinster. Defenders beaten then 10-20. Onto defence then, territory 60% to 40%. As you can see, again, it speaks to the fact that Cardiff played the game better, I think, in that, they were playing most of the game in the Leinster half. So if there was a knock on, if there was an infringement, it gave them decent position. And also it meant that, for Leinster to actually get out of that area, they had to kick back to Cardiff. And, Leinster, they kind of fell between two stools, right? Trying to keep the ball because they knew they had to when they were behind, but getting nowhere. So then eventually having to kick. And because it's one of these things where they're kind of forced to kick, because they're going nowhere, it means that they're not really kicking on their own terms. And you could see that in terms of, Cardiff, I think, were much better in the air. But also a weird thing I never noticed this before with Fintan Gunn, but it was very evident in this game where, he's left-footed, and when they did like the caterpillar at the back of the ruck, he was moving the ball back, but standing the way a right-footed kicker would, right? And it meant that you knew straight away if he was gonna kick the ball or not, because when he was gonna kick, he had to then switch to a left-footer stance. And straight away, you knew what he was doing. So obviously he passes off one side and kicks off the other side. And it was just so obvious. And it just made it really easy, I think, for Cardiff to read those kicks. Then, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but URC, they don't have tackle stats anymore. It used to be in the defence area. Now it's just territory. Onto kicking then, kicks and play, 48-36. Again, tells you all you need to know about the conditions, that there were so many kicks in the game. Like, we're talking 84 kicks between the two teams. That is crazy. Kick meters then 1,170 for Cardiff and 817 for Leinster. But again, conditions like that, you don't really want to be the team with the ball for too long, because an error is going to come. Kicks retained then 14-6 in favour of Cardiff. Again, speaks to the fact that they were, for me, definitely the dominant team in the air. Lineouts won then 13 out of 18 for Cardiff, so poor for them there. And, a couple of crucial times as well where they were in decent positions. Leinster then 9 from 10 for them. and 72% to 90% success. Line-out steals then 4 for Leinster, but again, they might have been stealing the ball, but they weren't really doing much with it. You know, they couldn't string enough quality together. You know, one good thing would be kind of wiped out by one poor thing. Scrums won then 7 from 8 for Cardiff and 7 from 7 for Leinster. So 88% to 100% on the scrum. And as I said, Leinster kind of at times, I would say, had the nudge in the scrum, but early on Cardiff were kind of putting pressure on Leinster and potentially could have won some penalties themselves as well. But yeah, it wasn't a major factor in the game, which is weird when you think that, you know, a game with so many handling errors, you would think that, you know, Leinster, when they made those changes and they won that first penalty, you thought, okay, maybe this is a way for them to get back into the game by forcing penalties, because there's going to be plenty of scrums in the game. But, you know, I thought Cardiff did well to kind of, you know, second half, they pretty much locked out the scrum and didn't have any more issues. So that was decent from them. But let's talk about each of the teams. So we start with Leinster, and yeah, it was a poor performance from Leinster. You know, we've got a mix in there of, as I said in commentary, like there's a couple of guys who won World Cups in there. You got, you know, seasoned Ireland internationals, the likes of, you know, Henshaw. You got other players who've been capped by Ireland as well. And then you have like some of the younger players coming through as well, the likes of Tector, and then we had Maloney as well on the wing, you know, so a real mix in there. But it felt like, you know, there wasn't very much leadership in the team, and that's kind of, you know, it's weird because you had Deegan and Penny playing, you know, from the start, and generally they do kind of manage the team when the big boys are away with Ireland. They do manage it pretty well, but today I didn't feel, you know, and feel that was the case. So, you know, Leinster, they had a decent team, but very much not a decent performance from them. So definitely plenty for them to work on in terms of how this team was prepared for this game. Because remember, they've had nothing to do since the week before the Six Nations started. Like, that's the last time, you know, this team played while the other guys went off to the Ireland camp. So yeah, definitely going to look on that the fact that, you know, we know that they can be slow starters to a season, but if it's going to be a case of every time they have a week or two off, that they're going to be slow again. Definitely need to work on like what's going on there and how can you fix it. For Cardiff though, really good performance. I thought, you know, very aggressive at the breakdown, very good in the air, some really good kicks as well. Kind of moving, they did much better at moving the Leinster back three around the way they wanted to, getting the field position as well. Good in defence, like all around, you know, again, not a quality performance in terms of like nobody was setting the world like from either team in this one, right? But, you know, it was a scrappy game, and it was Cardiff that came up with the majority of the big moments, and you got to absolutely give them credit for that. You know, some players really stepped up and performed and made the difference between these two teams, and kind of rose above the dross that was, you know, most of the players were producing out there, and most of the players who produced quality were wearing Cardiff shirts tonight. So got to give them massive credit for that. It's a really good win for them as well, because we talked about it in the build up where, you know, they had a decent start to the season and they've been sinking down the table, down. Now this win, brings them back within a point of Leinster. We're probably going to see, you know, maybe like an Ulster or, you know, one of those teams that are kind of in around there, Stormers, maybe, pop up above, both of these teams by the end of this round. But at the same time, it's good momentum for Cardiff. Now they're off to South Africa, and, you know, you'd feel now if they can get something out of the games in there, whether it's a losing bonus point, a try bonus point, or whatever, a win would be fantastic. But I think this win here certainly sets them up well in terms of just confidence going down there.